welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be tackling something that I have been putting off for some time. Haven't been able to figure out a good system yet. I finally think I'm there, and that is seed organization. For the last couple years, I have been like many people that are probably storing their seeds in a basket, in a random Tupperware container. And in the last couple of years, I upgraded to what I thought was an upgrade to this beautiful little vintage piece. I actually found it at an estate sale a couple of years ago here in Tennessee. And this has been my primary storage location for all of my seeds. You can see it has, it has a decent amount of space, but I am completely overflowing. Like, I can barely fit seeds in here anymore. I have now overflowed into a box that I got from Botanical Interests a couple months ago. We're in need of expanding here. So today I'm going to revamp my seed organization, and I'll be doing that with this lovely thing here. This is actually something that I found on Amazon because I, like many people in this community, watch a lot of gardening videos, and I see many different methods of seed organization. It felt like this was probably the best choice because it's completely sealed and waterproof. And I have actually ran into a couple situations where I've lost entire packets of seeds or entire drawers of seeds because this is not moisture resistant. And even without rain, the Tennessee humidity is just ridiculous down here. So I needed something not only bigger, but something that would make more sense from an organization standpoint, and something that would be waterproof and weatherproof overall. So this is actually advertised as a photo organizer, and I understand why it's great for that, but I have seen a couple reviews online that people actually use this for their seeds, and it's a great way to organize it by month and or kind of the type of seed that you have. Each one of these little containers, I think it comes with, if I could get it out, I think this is intended for like a 5x7 or a 4x6 photo. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 2. So there's 18 organizers within this large container. And what I plan to do with these is I actually plan to use my trusty dusty label maker and organize them by seed starting date. I've never done this before. I've always organized my seeds by the type of, product that it is. So I'll group all of my tomatoes together, my cucumbers, all of my flowers. But I've seen a few people out there that actually organize it by the start date compared to your first and last frost date. And I felt like that might be a really good method to just get into a better mindset and being able to keep track of the things that I need to start and when to start them. So I'm going to basically just put the 2x speed on here, and I'm going to redo all of my seed organization. And I also have some fun stickers here that I have ordered from Etsy shops that I really love and love to support. And so I will also be decorating this new seed organization storage container. And now we have a designated location for all of my seeds. I don't have to worry about if I'm missing seeds from somewhere, if they're getting water on them or any type of moisture, and just anything dusty that I don't want to be touching my seeds. So in the spirit of new beginnings, a new channel, and coming into 2025 with new hope and an open mind, let's redo our seed organization. Okay, so one thing I'm doing right now is I am actually going on the Old Farmer's Almanac website, and I'm putting in my zip code that I live in, and I'm figuring out my first and last frost dates. That'll help me determine how far out when I read the back of these seed packets the seed starting date is. So if it's 4 weeks before frost date, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, I can then determine the proper label to put inside that organizer per container to then figure out, okay, this is how much I have to start in January. This is how much I have to start in February. And then that'll help me just keep myself on track when I am getting closer and closer to that frost date. If I haven't started something, if I've missed the window to start something inside. For the most part, a lot of seeds you can start outside if you miss the window to start them inside, depending on the location, depending on where you live in the country or anywhere in the world, really. I would definitely pay attention to things like tomatoes and peppers that really should be started inside. So if you do miss that window to start seeds inside, if you miss it by a couple weeks, it's not that big of a deal. But if you are missing tomato and pepper seeds starting by like a month or two, that is where I would then probably recommend you go grab starts from the store. It'll just set you up for more success as you get further into your season. But more on that in another video. What I'm doing here is I put in my zip code, and what that gave me is that my last spring frost date is around April 23rd, and my first frost date is October 21st. So from there, if I know April 23rd is that last spring frost date, most tomatoes and peppers need to be started anywhere between 8, 10, and 12 weeks inside first. So I know I'm probably putting a lot of seeds. I probably need a couple containers that will say February start dates. Things like onions, I can technically start them now. Right now it's January here in Tennessee. And it is very cold, but you'd be surprised how much you can start inside this time of year. So I'm using this as my guide. I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to start ripping this apart, taking all the seeds out, and start sorting them by the start date. Other thing that I wanted to mention here is this isn't just for starting seeds indoors. This will be for starting anything. If it's direct sow, a lot of times like sugar snap peas and cucumbers and carrots, they'll all be direct sow. You really don't want to transplant, especially things like carrots and sugar snap peas. They don't take well to the transplant shock that occurs. So I'm also going to be keeping that into account here. What I'll likely do is have a start inside section and a start outside section for this seed organizer. But just keep that in mind. This doesn't have to be just for seeds that you start inside. Okay, so what I have started to do is I have started creating piles based off of how far to the last frost date you need to start the seeds. So I have a pretty big pile here for seeds that start within 1 to 2 weeks of the last frost date, or they start when the last frost date has passed. So I put those kind of all in the same pile because to me, if you're that close to the frost date, you might as well just wait just to be safe to start your seed. So if a seed pack is telling you 1 to 2 weeks before your last frost date, I usually just wait. I don't like to risk it unless it's something that I'm just experimenting with and I'm not really looking for a harvest from it. That's kind of what I'll do. Oh, hey, Indy. Don't know if you can see my pup over here, but this is my pup, Indy. She's our rescue from Pennsylvania. We brought her down here with us. Of course, she's the love of our life. She'll probably be hanging out in some videos here and there. And if you hear any barking, I apologize in advance. So anyway, let's get back to it. So I also have a pile that's about 3 to 4 weeks before the last frost date, 6 to 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, and then 10 to 12 weeks. So we'll start there and we'll kind of see where everything ends up. And then I will create the boxes based off of that. Okay, one area that I've discovered I am going to keep all together because I likely start these at different times throughout the year are herbs. I keep herbs in my house as well as sow some outside. And honestly, herbs don't get big enough. I mean, they do, depending on how wild you let them grow. But if you're constantly using herbs and you're pruning them back, they don't get big enough before your last frost date to really worry about spacing or needing to get them in the ground by a certain time. I often keep mine in pots anyway. So I'm actually going to create a box just for herbs. One thing that I have in my seed collection that I don't really know what's in it, and this could be a good rule of thumb, is I have some of these recyclable, basically, they're biodegradable candle covers that I received from one of my favorite candle brands, Linnea. And they actually put wildflower seeds in the candle cover. So they encourage you to actually plant this in your garden. But the thing is, um, you don't really know what's in here, right? So I have something like this, and then I have this edible flower mix from Hudson Valley Seed Company. And a lot of the time, when you have a flower mix, I think the best rule of thumb is just wait until after your last frost date to plant all of this, just so you are out of danger of any frost killing off little baby seedlings. They're very tender at that time when they're first germinated. So I'm going to keep a little separate pile of kind of unknowns or mixtures that I know I want to handle with extra care. All right, so that went pretty quickly. I have an absolute mess of seed packets in front of me. I do have to get into this box now, and I believe this is just a mixture of a bunch of stuff. It's not just botanical interest. Yeah, I've got stuff from M.I. Gardner in here. I think this is actually where I have all my tomatoes and lettuce because, as you can see, I have a lot of those. I'm quite obsessed with collecting seed packets, especially tomatoes and herbs. I think when M.I. Gardner had their end of season sale, I think it was maybe like August or September last year, I went absolutely buck wild because the seed packets were like $2 each, I think, maybe somewhere even $1.09 or $1.50. And I think I bought like 40 packets of seeds. Yes, it was wild, but it was a great deal, and it's exciting to collect these. All right, so now that I have divided everything out into relatively organized chaos here, I'm going to go ahead and start creating labels based off of working back from my last frost date. I do have a couple seed packets here that you actually start before your first frost date. So these are started in the fall. So I have fennel, radicchio, and delphinium. I have always wanted to grow delphinium. I tried to do it. Uh, Man, when did I try to do it? I think last year or the year before, and it ended horribly. I think out of like 9 seeds that I sowed, I think one or two germinated. So I don't know if it was the brand. I'm likely thinking it's something that I did wrong because this is Burpee. Burpee's pretty reliable, pretty widely accessible brand too. So they wouldn't really put unreliable seeds. I think it was probably operator error, as it often is around here. So, regardless, I'm going to put these three in a container by themselves because they are started in the fall. I just realized that I actually have to use the Bluetooth on my phone to operate this label maker. I'm not sure how I forgot that, but I'll save this for the end and then I'll show you some shots of what it looks like. All right. Well, that went really quick. I think we're in really good shape here. I think what I'm likely going to do is probably divide a few boxes out a little further. I have 6 more boxes left over that I haven't used yet. So I'll likely probably go in, like I said, separate the tomatoes out between the 3 different types that I like to section them by. Additionally, I'll probably separate out kind of flowers from melons, things that start after the last frost date. Because once they're in that kind of section, I can always create a divider in this organizer just to tell me, okay, everything after here starts after the last frost date, and then I can kind of organize it a little bit more meaningfully. Right now, I kind of have general organization, so I've got all my pole beans and my sugar snap peas in here. We got squashes and melons in here, and then we have some like ornamental corns and flowers in here. So yeah, we are in pretty good shape. I am now going to go ahead and decorate the box, shall we? All right, so nothing fancy, just a couple of stickers. I'll add to this as I get more in the mail, and I'll show you guys little updates of my seed organization, probably on my Instagram, The Curated Garden, curated with a K. And yeah, so I'll probably insert a cutaway here of me labeling all of the boxes for the seed organization, and then I'll show you one final shot before we end the video. Thanks, guys.